I am not in my body, but I am out of body, and I am observing and doing and feeling what the customer would feel. I want the artist to portray me walking in the shoes of the customer, right? Additionally, I would have the artist create a visual such of that walk, such that I could share with everyone in the company, right? So they could understand how their actions and their decisions impact that customer's walk.
What's up, world? Have you ever wondered, what does my friend or cousin or partner actually do at work? If so, listen to Take Your Homeboy to Workday podcast, the premier podcast to learn about careers and trades. Each episode, I interview guests from different professions and dive into the arcs of jobs held, the education and training received, the skills and experiences acquired, of course, how much you can earn, and the intrinsic fulfillment that motivates them. So, for anyone interested in hearing the firsthand experience of a specific career, these conversations are your launching pad. And please subscribe, follow, like, and rate 5 stars on LinkedIn or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love to have your support. Today's episode will feature the role of a customer experience officer. The Customer Experience Officer, or CXO, is a fast-growing role in business culture. This person ensures that the company vision and values match with the customer's experience using their product or service. They shape what a company offers to its customers. So, for example, if I visit an airport lounge such as the Delta Sky Club, the CXO of the Delta Sky Club would set standards for the greeters, service staff, and kitchen to ensure that I am happy and comfortable during my trip. Ultimately, they make sure the customer is getting the most value out of that product or service for the company. And as a salesperson myself, this philosophy is the North Star of success. So I was very eager to get Thomas Linton on the show. Thomas refers to himself as a customer zealot and has succeeded developing products and services at banks, consumer packaged goods companies, financial service companies, and healthcare companies. His foundation is built on sales, marketing, engineering, project management, and even Six Sigma practices. So I am excited to learn from him today and see what lessons I can apply to strengthen my own sales future and how I service customers. So thank you for joining me today and welcome to the show, Thomas.
Brandon, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. I love what you're doing. Giving back to the community is just awesome, man. So thank you for the invite. Glad to be here.
Ah, Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate those words. I will continue this work. And in the introduction, I gave a brief synopsis of what I think your career and what a CXO does. But in your own terms, can you explain your career journey and what a customer experience officer is, how you look at it?
Absolutely. My career has been keenly focused on the customer from my early times as an electrical engineer to my most recent role as a chief marketing officer and all the roles in between. While I've had functional roles in marketing, sales, customer experience, and Six Sigma engineering, again, the career has been really focused on solving problems. So, that's the whole thing of a CXO. They really focus on the needs of customers and really try to make sure that those needs are satisfied, not only focused on the customer, but focused on, the organization and the internal processes of an organization.
Gotcha. Okay. And I guess, how did you stumble into this type of work? So I know you have done a lot of work. I mean, you started off as an engineer, you've also spent time with sales and marketing, but how did you build into this? Who introduced you to a customer experience officer? How did you get into this type of work?
It's interesting. And before I start with the customer experience officer, I mean, I got to go back to the the foundation of my career, which is my engineering background.
Mm,
And the way I got started in engineering, man, was I was really good in math and science. And one of my middle school teachers was very influential. They said, "Hey, if you're good in math and science, you should consider a career in engineering."
mm.
As a child, I was very, very curious. I used to tinker with things. But while in high school, I attended a pre engineering summer program at the University of Louisville, and it was great. And after that, I decided to go the engineering route. As for the customer experience part of it, um, I would say that started as my career started in business, right? I shifted from
Mhm,
business to engineering, from engineering to business.
mhm.
And as a young engineer, I was in this meeting, man. I was designing lamps for the European market at the time. And one of our account managers had just come back from a trip from Europe, and he was explaining to us the feedback he got from customers, what they were looking for. And I'm like, man, I really want to be that guy. So I started and talking to my mentors about, hey, how can I be him? And to make a long story short, I ended up going back to business school to get my MBA in marketing. And that's really what started my journey into the customer experience realm.
Very cool. One of the things I love highlighting are when people make a pivot in their careers, or, as people say, in a previous life, I used to do this. So, I'd love to ask you a question. When you wanted to transition to business, but you were still doing engineering roles, how did you stay motivated? Because you knew where you wanted to go next, but you were still in what you currently were doing. And sometimes that can hold people back because they don't feel like they are living their purpose. So, how did you navigate those years while you were getting your MBA and trying to transition into business, but still serving in an engineering role?
Yeah, I think the most important part of that, Brandon, is the company that you're with and are they helping you with career development, right? All
Hmm.
many companies will tell you that career development is based off of you and driving and helping your career. So for me, one of the things I was able to do while I was in engineering, um, I asked for an assignment in manufacturing engineering where I was developing people and responsible for a manufacturing line. So I had to people management responsibilities, and then had some responsibilities with our quality team. Our quality team was also connected to the sales and product marketing team, and so those experiences, even though I was in engineering, gave me a perspective of, hey, how do other parts of the company work, and how do I leverage that as I'm thinking about making this shift to the business side.
Gotcha, gotcha. Very smart. So I guess the first thing you said was one, you need to be in control of your own career, and then two, well, I guess the main thing is just to be in control of your own career. So thank you for sharing that. So MBA school, can you share what was the process like first getting into MBA school, and then what was that experience like for you going back, having experience, work experience, and then being in MBA school? What can you talk to us a little bit about during that time frame?
Yeah, so the process is pretty rigorous, man. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There's a lot of things you gotta do. You gotta take the exam, and so
Mhm.
back in the day, I took the GMAT, the
Yep.
Graduate Management Acceptance Test. But I think today they allow you to take the GRE. I think this is the Graduate Record Exam or something like that. But you got to take the exam. I wasn't a good test taker, so I took the exam a couple of times, and I'm like, hey, my test is my test. Wherever I go is where I go. So that's one thing. Secondly, there's the application process. You got to decide what schools you're going to go to. And for me as an engineer, the biggest challenge I had was writing, right? I'm an engineer. I wasn't a writer. You had to write these essays for why you wanted to do business and all these good things, and so I needed help, right? So I got help from an editor to help me with that. But I think the most important component of it is, I mean, you have to have to have been doing well in your current role, right?
Hmm.
You know, everyone has a story about what they want to do and how they want to do it. But if you don't have any key experiences from your current role and current experiences, it's going to be difficult to show how you're going to add value to that upcoming business school class. And so those are the three things, right? Taking the test, writing the essays and all the applications, and then really making sure you're kicking butt in your current role.
Gotcha. Thank you for those words. Okay, so we're getting through MBA school. We graduate with the MBA. What was your first opportunity after you earned your MBA?
Yeah, my first opportunity was in the oil and gas chemical industry. I was a senior customer analyst, and it was an interesting role. I was able to, in that role, leverage some of the experiences and education that I got in business school. My first assignment was helping this business unit create a strategic plan. And for those who've been to business school, you've heard of the Porter Five Forces model, and it's a model that allows you to assess customers and competition and suppliers, and I was able to use that framework to help our organization develop a strategy. And I was
Hmm.
like, man, I just learned this in business school last year. And now I'm able to apply it. I was excited, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a senior customer analyst.
Well, that's very cool. I know, you learn a lot about the theories in school, and then to
Right,
actually
right.
put them in practice is very exciting. So I could tell from even how you were saying, I totally understand that feeling that you were expressing. So that's very cool that you got to put that theory in practice.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess, um, and this is kind of a question. I appreciate your candor on. While we're talking about the first job that you earned after you got your MBA, I love for people to know how much they can earn after achieving a degree or starting off in a path, and especially those early years when salary may not be as high as once you get your experience and get to director level. So, could you give a range of what that salary was for that first job?
Yeah, I'm going to give you two perspectives of it. I'm going to give it to you from an engineering perspective because I started my career in engineering. And man, I was making a whopping $35,000 a year as an engineer. I was excited, man.
Right.
And remember, I had a bachelor's and a master's of engineering when I left school, and so started my first job. And so I think today the range for kind of an electrical engineer is between 70, 80,000, depending on what school you go to. It could be a little bit more. And so as a coming out of business school, my salary was 60,000. So I almost doubled my salary from an engineer to a business person. So, I was really excited. And I think today the range for a marketing manager with an MBA is about 110 to 130,000.
Mhm.
So people always ask me, do you think it was worth it? Absolutely, it was worth it. That I know school is very expensive, but the foundational education I got plus the bump in salary made it absolutely worth it.
Awesome, awesome. That's great to hear. So thank you. Well, first, thank you so much for sharing a topic that I know sometimes can be sensitive, especially about finances. So I appreciate you being open. The whole goal is just to inform the audience. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So, diving back into the customer experience role, and I know you've served in a lot of roles, so feel free to pick from wherever feels most appropriate. But I want to I'm putting on my ownership, business ownership lenses and glasses now. So I'm coming from that perspective. And if I'm coming to you as my CXO, there and I'm giving you a salary, then there's a return or an output that I'm expecting from you. And so, I guess, can you explain? what is the value that you create for the owner of a company for those customers? Can you can you break down how you perceive the value you create for the your the owner of the company?
Yeah, yeah. So this is an interesting question, right? So in every role that I've had, right, I've always been expected to deliver results.
Mhm,
And I use the words results in a very broad term, right? Because as an engineer, right, I had responsibility for designing lamps, and I had to make sure the lamps met the customer specifications, right?
mhm,
As a product manager, I had to provide the requirements to the engineers to develop the products and getting the feedback from customers to make sure again that the product met the needs, right? And then as a general manager, I had sales goals, right? I had
mhm,
to deliver sales to the company. And so every role, it plays a critical role in business. It's all about the team effort, right?
mhm.
But it's all about expectations, making sure you're clear on what the expectations are of you and how you fit into the overall picture of the company, and then delivering it to the best of your ability with excellence.
Gotcha. You brought up the word team, and I guess I wanted to ask a question about your youth. Did you do any extracurriculars, team sports or team competitions, maybe debate club or chess club? I guess are there any of your childhood experiences that tie into what you had to deliver as a CXO?
Yeah, I think as a youth, right? I played football, I played
Mm,
basketball,
mhm,
and man, I can't stress enough for any youth, right, to play a team sport, right? So I had four daughters, and I had each one of them play a team sport. I said, I don't care what sport it is, but play a team sport because there's so many life lessons you get from playing a team sport. One, you got to figure out how to work with your teammates, right?
mhm.
Two, you got to figure out how to work with a coach, which in business becomes a boss, right?
Right.
Three, you got to figure out, if you're going to lead, if you're going to follow, and I learned all of that in different areas, different aspects of playing sports as I was growing up, right?
Mhm,
Um, I played different roles. It depended on the game. It depended on the team, right? I might be a point guard one day. I might be a shooting guard the other day. I might be a quarterback one day. So I think the team aspect is so critical in business. It is the only way that young leaders will be successful is understanding how to play a critical role on the team.
Wow. Well, thank you. You had mentioned team so often, and I guess navigating challenges. I felt like you had a background in sports, and so it just. Thank you for answering that question. It was something itching in my head. I had to ask, so I appreciate it. Now,
Absolutely.
I asked you to look at your role with those ownership glasses on, and so now I want to switch the glasses and come from a customer experience. And so, um, how does what you do manifest itself for a customer? So if I'm out and about and I wanted to point to something and say, hey, here's an example of what a CXO does. What could I point to bring a physical representation of what you do?
There's one example that I would give you in my previous role in healthcare, right? So one thing you could point to is many potential patients, right? They actually go on Google, go online and search for, hey, I need help with X, I need help with Y. And so as a marketer, as a customer experience executive, one of the things I was able to do was put together a marketing plan that says, hey, when they are searching for this service, how can we be where they are and provide them some content that allows them to say, oh, this is a company that has a potential solution to my customer to my needs, and so let me go check them out. So that's one way. The other way as a customer experience executive is once they get on a phone with a agent, right? Being able to make sure that agent understands and has empathy for that caller, whether it's a patient, potential patient, a family member has empathy, but really setting the guidelines and the foundation for how that call should be answered and how that person should be treated when they're called in. So those are two examples. One is being available when customers are looking to get help, and then two, once they reach someone, having that be a really good experience.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. I love the phrase on your LinkedIn that says that you are a customer zealot. That really just speaks to me, especially as a salesperson. And I can tell that you love providing people with a good experience or giving people what they expect, and whether that your customer is internal or external. So I love that about your philosophy on work. And so I guess over your career, what has been your proudest achievement?
I my proudest achievement has nothing to do with work, right? My
Mhm,
proudest achievement has to do with my family, right? I've been
mm,
married for over 32 years.
mhm.
I have four beautiful, intelligent, successful daughters who've all graduated from college. So, creating a family environment of love and respect is absolutely my proudest achievement. But I will answer your question directly. Professionally, as a budding kind of product manager early in my career in telecommunications, I was responsible for developing this new kind of product, right?
Mhm.
And in that process, right, I was able to go out and talk to customers, both on a doing qualitative research and quantitative research to see what features and that they really really wanted, and um, but going back and forth with them on what's important to them, what they would buy. We created products that again met their needs, and the successful part about it is I was awarded two patents for that work
Wow.
on creating solutions for customers. So that was a proud moment professionally for me.
Yeah, yeah. I guess could I? What's it? So to earn a patent, what does that actually mean? Could you break down that process and what that actually means?
Yeah, so a patent is a something you file with the government, and what it really is says, hey, have you truly found a differentiated way to do something different than anyone else has ever done, and as such you go claim benefit for that, so you can be so if somebody else tries to replicate it, they can get sued if they replicate it, kind of what you did. So that's what a patent is. And again, this was early in the long distance industry, but man, I was very excited about that.
Yeah, I could imagine. I guess, do you have like a certificate of your name and the patent that you actually created hanging up in your office? I imagine you've really blown this up. That seems impressive.
I have it, but it's not on my wall. I have my degrees on my wall, but not the patent. I probably should pull it out of the archives and get it on the wall.
Very cool. Well, first, salute to you for building a healthy family, and then also for being a part of two patents. That sounds like life changing work, and congratulations. That is amazing. Thank you for listening to Take Your Homeboy to Workday podcast. This concludes part one. Check back in on Friday for part two. But before you go, we need your help to spread our message. So please subscribe, like, and rate 5 stars wherever you get your podcast, and on LinkedIn at Take Your Homeboy to Workday podcast. Thank you.